This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Friday on the After Party Live. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a great weekend. We're going to kick it off in weekend style with Tim Sika, who's going to come in and talk about movies, and we always have a great conversation. So I'm excited about that. And I also have some great stories to share with you along the way. Do want to thank some folks who are financially contributing to the After Party Live and helping keep things afloat. Another $5 coming in today from Wes via the PayPal link. That is in the show description and also in the About tab on YouTube under the After Party Live. Thank you to Wes. Thank you to Carol S., who threw down $26 as well. A recurring payment from Gretchen came in overnight as well. And then yesterday, Wes with another $5. Seems like he's doing that every day. So really appreciate it. I know it's the Spring Kaching and people contributing to that show as well. So there's a lot of things you could contribute to, and that you want to keep this show going means the world to me. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's jump into at least one story before Tim Sika arrives. And it's this owner of a salon in the Los Angeles area looks up as she comes into her salon in the morning and sees that there is some water that has collected in the skylight, and a coyote is up above drinking from this water. Let's watch this video because what a sight. This is crazy. Here it is. Look at that. Oops, let me start it from the beginning. Look at that. Is that amazing? Yeah, I'll do it again. Nice looking salon, right? And there's the coyote up on the skylight drinking from the water. Pretty incredible. I can zoom in. You can see this creature up there. Look at that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that was really, really good video. This scene happened at the Treehouse Salon in Los Angeles. The coyote just up there on the roof, looking down into the skylight, slurping up some water. The owner of the salon said it's just another day at the Treehouse. So that's what they had going on in Los Angeles. So hopefully no wild animals involved at the movies with Tim Sika today, but we've got him, and he's got some great movies on tap. Tim Sika appears every Friday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, here on the After Party Live at the movies with Tim Sika. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thank you, Kim. I love your crazy coyote.
I know, isn't that wild? You imagine looking up and there's a coyote on your roof?
Yeah, no, I don't know what I would do if that happened.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So you've got some good movies for us this week. You are starting with this movie called Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. Yes, another Marvel movie. Surprise, surprise, as Gomer Pyle would say, right? Okay. It's the 36th Marvel movie in the MCU. I mean, really, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that anyway. And despite dressing it up with new or secondary characters, come on, let's not kid ourselves. It's really just more of the same, right? Mm-hmm. Only this time the dressing comes in the form of these secondary characters, or like supervillains. Okay, so what the Thunderbolts are. They're a superhero team of reformed supervillains, I guess. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and they're basically the new Avengers. Okay, in the persons of a bunch of very, very talented actors, and there's lots of plot as per usual here. But basically, all you got to know with this movie is that it's the Thunderbolts versus Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who plays this corrupt director of the CIA. And for my money, she was the most enjoyable aspect of this this movie. She was very funny, and she was obviously enjoying herself playing this really nasty CIA head and or politician. And there's really not much more to say about this movie. I know Michael Snyder and I diverge
Yeah, but
on
he's
our
a fan
individual.
of the Marvel movies. I mean, that's his thing.
Yeah, yeah. His liking of and the points he makes about the movie are well taken. He seemed vastly entertained by it. I was frankly vastly bored by
Oh,
it. I take a lot of notes at films, Kim. I wrote nothing down in my notepad because there really wasn't anything left to say. As the old saying goes, there's never any accounting for personal taste, right? Yeah, Michael loves the Marvel movies. Superhero fatigue is my middle name. But if it's your jam, have at it. We critics have no effect on these Marvel movies anyway. They have a built-in fan base. They've got a loyal audience who are always going to go see them regardless of what the critics say. So for me, this expensive but kind of ragtag, cheap-looking, samey MCU entry just didn't move the needle as far as my superhero movie fatigue goes. And if you ask this critic what to say about Thunderbolts, he says to just skip it.
skip it. It's a skip it. Oh,
It's a
no.
skip it. Yeah.
Oh, wildly, vastly different reviews from you and Snyder on Thunderbolts. Wow.
I know. And I just before we went on the air, I just for the hell of it, I looked up the critical consensus, and the critics are going nuts over this movie.
Okay.
I don't get it. And even you know what it is they're fans, and they enjoyed these movies, they like these movies, so they're kind of like blind to really analyzing them or critiquing them. Maybe I overthink these things, I don't know, but I just basically did not find it entertaining, and I've seen it dozens of times already. It's the same movie, just dressed up differently. Anyway,
What did you think about this one? It's called The Surfer.
Speaking of entertaining, this next movie, The Surfer, was vastly entertaining from my perspective. I'm not sure if it was all that great a movie. In fact, much of it was out and out ridiculous and stupid, but maybe as camp with some sort of like Hemingway-esque message about the meaning of a certain kind of masculinity, it can be enjoyed. That's kind of how I saw it, but I don't know if that was the intention. But anyway, the premise of The Surfer is that Nicolas Cage, who's an actor, who works endlessly and tirelessly, I'll give him that. Cage plays this man who is in the process of buying a home in the Australian town where he was raised. And before the deal is sealed, he, along with his teenage son, decide that they want to surf this adjacent idyllic Australian beach. But they're told by the locals when they show up that they are not wanted, that this beach is only meant for them, the locals, that he and his son have no business being there, and they better leave before they get hurt. So, concerned for the welfare of his son, Cage sends his son back to his mother, but decides he's not going anywhere until he hears from his broker about the closing of the house sale. And so he stays on the beach in his Lexus, but is gradually tormented and bullied by these locals until he, Cage, known only as the Surfer in the movie, we never really know his name. We never find out his name. He's just known as the Surfer. He stays there until he goes nuts, till he goes crazy. And this is yet another one of those movies where Nicolas Cage plays a character who goes nuts, who goes mad, a Nicolas Cage specialty. I don't know how many movies he's played a similar type of character, but anyway, I found this movie to be perversely fun. I don't know if that's what its intention was, because it almost plays like a parody of a serious drama. The drama at times plays kind of over the top. It's kind of cheesy. It reminded me of this infamous movie from 1968 called The Swimmer with Burt Lancaster, who will be mentioned again later in the show. But it's sort of, that movie had this uniformly bad acting and direction to the point where it seemed like practically like they were doing that deliberately. I don't know what that, but that's The Surfer. There's several unexplained plot bits that lack narrative logic in this, and half an hour in, I'm going, why doesn't this guy just leave the beach? There's no apparent reason for him to stay there. He's just inviting trouble and is only making his situation worse. Maybe that was the point of the film. But the symbolism of it all was heavy-handed, and the film's narrative resolution was ridiculous, is the only word that comes to mind. So what am I saying here? Is it worth seeing? I would say overall, yes. But I would say don't take any of it seriously. For me, I found it unintentionally hilarious. Again, I always fall back.
Was it meant to be hilarious? Because if it's not meant to be hilarious, then I don't know if it's a good movie or not.
I don't think it was, because I mean, it dealt with serious issues. I mean, I think it was about toxic masculinity, but it just got I'm just saying, if you had left like an hour ago, none of this would have happened. You didn't even need to stay there. And then there were all these things that kept occurring, like, well, wait a minute. He knows at some point that his cell phone's going to die, but he gives it to this guy that's running this like food stand, but he's like, it should only take maybe an hour or two for it to charge, but he doesn't ask for it till the following day. And I'm going, why did he wait so long to ask for it, knowing that the guy who was running the stand was one of the locals and wasn't going to give it back to him anyway? I mean, it drove me nuts, but I kind of went with it as this weird parody. And I found it really entertaining. I think unintentionally. I don't think it was meant to be a comedy, but I thought it was a joke.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did Nicolas Cage try to do an Australian accent?
No, that was the other thing that was weird. He was the only one, well, and his son. I mean, they were the only one and he hailed from the area. So you would have thought he might have at least had a trace of one, but no, he was doing his Nicolas Cage thing.
Okay.
Anyway,
so
it was a hoot.
It's a hoot. Because it's kind of funny?
I would say yes.
Okay. All right. Tim recommends it. Tim's next movie is called The Dark Money Game.
Oh yeah.
This is kind of a streaming one too, huh?
Yeah, it's streaming. It's on Max, HBO Max. It's a 2-part documentary directed by one of the great documentarians of our time, I think probably of all time, Alex Gibney. And it's a hard-hitting look at a really complicated subject, campaign finance reform, and the enormous political influence of special interest groups since the Supreme Court Citizens United decision. So it's one nearly 4-hour documentary. It's divided into 2 2-hour halves. The first one is titled Ohio Confidential, which deals in detail with, I'm from Ohio. I never even heard about this, but it dealt with the largest political bribery case in Ohio history, where the Republican Ohio Speaker of the House, his name was Larry Householder, was indicted and sent to prison this was just recently, for 20 years for racketeering, and who was responsible for the exchange of something like $61 million in political bribes.
Wow.
Okay, and the second installment is titled It's the Dark Money Game, the second installment is called The Wealth of the Wicked, and it details how big money and religion colluded to bring about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It's all very unsettling and infuriating, what we see in this film. And although the movie is remarkably objective, it does ultimately come down on the side of, well, in my opinion, practically irrefutable position that U.S. politics have become this entangled culture of corruption, and that we've made, courtesy of the courts, specifically the SCOTUS, political bribery, legal in the United States. Yeah. That fringe groups, since the 2010 Citizens United ruling, they can bundle billions of dollars into secret slush funds or super PACs to frustrate popular rule and what the people actually want, the majority of the population wants, and that basically now the political fix is in, because corruption of the Supreme Court, specifically in the persons of Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, can now be regulated by the Supreme Court.
Yep.
So yeah, so and that the court has basically redefined corruption to help the super wealthy and basically ignore the rest of us. I mean, that's, to me, that was my takeaway from the film. The movie was inspired by this book which I just ordered because I found the movie so fascinating. This book called Dark Money by Jane Mayer, who also appears in the film to explain how dark money or hidden money is now de rigueur in both Republican and Democratic politics. You know, even the system is so corrupt that in order to actually win, you have no other choice but to accept this money because it's so entrenched in the way campaigns are run. It's kind of depressing, but it's an excellent must-see movie, and it's now streaming on HBO Max. Yeah,
this is a picture of Larry Householder. He
yeah,
is was the former Speaker of the Ohio House.
right.
He was a Ohio representative from the 72nd District, a
Yeah,
two-time Speaker of the Ohio House of Representatives, convicted of racketeering in a bribery scandal involving First Energy, expelled from the House in 2021, and
yeah,
sentenced to 20 years in prison in
right.
2023. That's wild.
Exactly. And I guess he's now appealing that decision
Mhm.
based on Citizens United, which I think is just one of the worst decisions that the court, whatever. It's kind of, to me, it's just that they're rationalizing their corruption. You know, they're just looking the other way. Anyway, yes, yeah, that's another subject, talking politics. But the movie is excellent. It's extremely well told. It's a lot to take in, and it's not comfortable. It's a difficult movie to watch because there's so much information, but it's really well done. And yeah, Alex Gibney is one of my favorite documentarians. He's extremely prolific. He won the Oscar for a movie called Taxi to the Dark Side a few years ago. He made a movie about Enron and the corruption. He's just a great journalist and he's a great filmmaker. And yeah, so when I saw his name attached, I thought, well, I definitely have to check this out. I think it dropped on Netflix about a week ago. It's so weird, Kim, because I watched it in pieces because there was a lot to take in. It's so interesting when a lot of times when you go on a streaming service, they highlight movies which you should watch.
Yeah.
It was difficult to find this movie, even when I went, into the search thing and had to do it letter by letter because it wouldn't come up. And then when I went back to rewatch it, I had to do the whole thing again. So it made me, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it made me think, why is it so hard to find this movie? Why don't they highlight it? Of course, they're not going to do that. But anyway.
It frustrates me because this is on HBO Max or Max. It frustrates me to even watch this, although I know the information is important. I know it's not something we should look away from, but it feels like there's nothing we can do about it, that this is just our system and how it works, and it's insurmountable. Like, how do we root out this whole dark side of money and politics? So interesting that this is such a good documentary, but it's also one that kind of weighs heavy on me because I don't know what can be done.
Yeah, no, and if I don't think anybody knows what to do, and both parties are sort of a party to it.
Yep.
It's in one sense you could say, well, it's fighting fire with fire, but in another sense, it's like it's all corrupt. It was amazing that the FBI was able to make a case against Larry Householder because the way this money is situated in these private groups where you don't have to disclose who the money is from. It was amazing that they untangled that, but the movie shows a lot of it was just by chance, by the people that they happened to be talking to, who happened to be talking to other people who spilled beans that they didn't think they were spilling. It's a fascinating story, but it's sort of like I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. if there can easily be an indictment against these politicians because the money is literally impossible to find.
And then it's also this thing of, okay, you can't win without the money, right?
Yeah.
But then also it's, do you get into politics to help people, to serve
Well,
the public good, or do you get into politics to enrich yourself? And when you win a political race, when you're seated in office, is it like, the minute you win, it's like, oh, thank God, it's easy street. I'm going to reach in and grab some of this cash.
yeah. Well, in the case of Larry Householder, according to the film, he he was strategic. He sought out the power, and in order to get the power, he had to do a quid pro quo.
Sure.
So he was, but he was a very charming politician. It's so interesting. In my mind, I'm watching this, and they had the Republican convention, presidential convention, I think for Trump both times in Cleveland. It's amazing what they were doing in Ohio in 2010 was exactly the blueprint that Trump is using while he's president: lying, obfuscating, confusing. It just, yeah. I mean, they're bedfellows, Ohio and the Trump administration. Anyway,
All right.
yeah,
Well, moving
yeah.
on from politics. We don't usually talk politics on the
I
show, but
know, I know, I know, I
it's
know.
because it's a movie and it's you. I'll allow it. We have this one, Henry Johnson.
Yeah, I just happened upon this movie the other day. It's probably my favorite movie of the week. It's written and
Oh,
directed by David Mamet, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning writer and playwright and author,
mhm.
based on his own play. Boy, is this ever the very definition of a lean and mean movie, this
Oh,
film, Henry Johnson. And it's about, okay, well, the settings, it's based on a play. So the settings are an office room, a prison cell, and a prison library. And it's about this man who extends, how can I say this without giving anything away? Okay, so it's about this man who extends an act of compassion to a college friend of his who went to prison. And that act of compassion totally upends this guy's life, the guy who gave it, and ultimately results in his tragic end. So the movie explores the nature of power and justice and the price of human naivete, and
mhm.
maybe how acts of human compassion may not necessarily result in desired outcomes or in outcomes that we think are going to result because of our compassion. And it's classic David Mamet, very raw, with crackling dialogue and presented arguments that totally provoke. I mean, I'm watching this, I'm going, I mean, it was really riling me up, but in a good way. I'm not sure what the message of the movie is. I think that comes later after you do studied consideration of Mamet's truths, and there are truths here. They're uncomfortable truths to have to confront, but they're truths nonetheless. So yeah, it's an explosive drama, very entertaining picture. All four performances, there's four characters, but there's all four performances are great, with a standout one from Shia LaBeouf as this prison inmate who schools the Henry Johnson character of the title, played by Evan Jonigkeit. Everybody's superb. It's great drama. And, as I was watching the movie, the thought crossed my mind, Kim, that just maybe David Mamet might be overthinking some of the issues that the film explores. But bottom line is that, for me, with this movie, Mamet's showing that he's still got it. I mean, he's a great writer and he's a skilled dramatist. I would see anything he put forward on stage or on screen, and this movie's no exception. It's excellent. It's my favorite movie of the week. Certainly the most provocative. I love movies that entertain, that are, that are hypercharged in terms of acting, but that also have something to say. And that's Henry Johnson. It's this little gem. It's hardly getting any publicity at all. I'm reviewing it a little bit ahead of time. It opens in just select theaters next week, and then on VOD, I think on May 9th. But I really, I'm excited about it, and I would love for people to check it out.
It reminds me of those stories you hear where someone does something nice for someone, they're a good Samaritan, and then, they stop to help someone and then they get hit by a car on the side of the road. One
Mm,
of these stories where, your heart's in the right place and you try to do something nice and then all of a sudden it backfires.
yeah, well, that's kind
Mhm.
of, yeah, that's a lot of what this
Yeah.
movie is about. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I have to tell you that my daughter in her English class at school
yeah.
had to watch, they had read The Color Purple. and then they had to watch the movie from the 1980s.
Ah, it's
And
rough.
then her most recent assignment is that she had to write a movie review. And she said to me
Really?
in the car on the way home, she goes, "I guess we need to call Tim Sika." I said, "No, I don't think we're not gonna bother Tim Sika." But it was close. You were this close to being called. I'm like, "Tim Sika is not gonna write your movie review for you."
Well,
No.
no, well, you could have called and
Mhm.
I could have maybe given advice. So did she write the review?
Yeah, she did. She did not like the movie as well as good as she liked the book. She liked the book a
Interesting.
lot better. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because the book is, I mean, I thought the movie was brutal, but the book
Mhm.
is even more brutal.
Yeah.
Interesting that she liked the book more.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
It's a hard novel and it's a hard movie. I think I've only seen it once, but I feel like I've seen it 20 times because it's
Right?
so etched in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but and it's and but it made me think about it because you were talking about the movie Henry Johnson, how you kind of feel like you're still thinking about it after the fact,
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
those
Yeah. Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's The Color Purple for me is even
Yeah.
this many years later, there's so much to think about, and
Yeah.
how society and abuse and the way
Yeah.
you're treated can just weigh you down in life.
And
So
it's just so sad,
mm,
that movie.
yeah,
Oh my God. The ending. Oh, wasn't the ending great where she's reunited
yeah,
with her sister. Oh, so
yeah.
beautiful. Anyway, yeah,
Mhm.
I love it. But it's rough. It's like that movie to me is like Sophie's Choice.
Yeah.
It's just a hard one to watch, but awfully good. Really, really good.
Did you know that you probably knew this? I didn't. I had read it that because or the conversation made me kind of want to refresh myself on the movie. But Steven Spielberg, who I believe directed that movie, got a
Yes.
lot of criticism because, and even in the early 80s, because this is a movie about the African American female experience, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here he is, he's a white guy. He's definitely,
Yeah.
maybe
White Jewish guy.
not
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
into the African American experience, and so he took a lot of heat for that even way back then.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I think some of it was unfair. I mean, even the cast. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg was on record as saying, what is everybody's problem?
Right.
This is he's sensitive to that. He asks the right questions. I mean, it brings up that question like, well, should only people that have had a certain experience direct them? It depends. It depends. And I think it's one of Spielberg's better films,
And he had
personally.
11 Academy Award nominations and not one win.
Not one win, and he didn't get a nomination for director, which
No.
is very, very odd. I don't know how that shook out or why that happened, but I blame the system. The system sometimes
Yeah.
will oust people, according to the round of voting. I remember once in one of the groups I was in, we were voting for films, and we started out by there was one film that kept getting the most votes. It was what was it called? Up in the Air. It was George Clooney. Anyway,
Mhm. Yeah.
it was people were very excited about it, but by the time we had gone through several rounds, by the third round or the fourth round, nobody was even talking about the movie that, if we weren't going to go any further in discussion, would have probably won all of our awards. So it's sometimes, people talk about, well, I'm not going to go on about snubs. I think that's a misinterpretation of when somebody's name is omitted from awards. I think snub implies like a direct, like, I'm not going to vote for these people because whatever. Sometimes it just happens because of the nature of the system that's set up, the rounds and rounds of voting that critics have to go through.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Another point on The Color Purple is it's hard for me to believe that was Oprah's very first movie acting performance.
I know
What a debut performance that
I
was.
know. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it was hers and Whoopi Goldberg's, their
Wow.
debut film performances, and they were superb.
Yeah.
Both of them. I know.
Really
Oh yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. Totally agree. Yep.
Before we get to the movie recommendation of the week, Noah Fidian asks this question. He says, "Must a movie have a message?"
I would say no, not necessarily. And I
Mhm.
think it was one of the moguls said famously, like, well, if you wanna, send a message, call Western Union. I think, it gets back to like, well, why do people go to see movies, right?
Yeah.
If they just go to be entertained, then they'll
Right.
be, they'll see the movies that entertain. But I do think movies can entertain and say something,
Hmm.
important. Sometimes it's subtle. I think the ones that are subtle about it, that don't hit you over the head with a quote unquote message, are the best ones, but yeah, no, I would say the simple answer to that question is no. I don't think any movie needs to have a message. No.
All right, it's time for us to hit it. It is Tim Sika's classic movie wreck of the week. Here it is. Come back,
Yeah,
Little
what?
Sheba.
Yeah, come back, Little Sheba. What is it with all these '50s movies I'm recommending lately? Anyway, I don't know. I was wondering about that when I picked this movie. Yeah, Burt Lancaster stars in this. He's in the poster there, and introducing to movie screens actress Shirley Booth. This is, oh God, this is one of the saddest movies ever made, and a movie that features probably one of the greatest female performances ever to be put on film. It's Come Back, Little Sheep. It's based on the William Inge play. Burt Lancaster plays this alcoholic chiropractor who, when the story opens, has been sober for a year. Shirley Booth plays his frumpy, loquacious wife who lives for the day when her lost dog, Little Sheba, will return home. She's constantly, wondering when the dog's going to come back. She disappeared one day. She has dreams about this dog. Booth makes her film debut here, having previously played the role to great critical acclaim on Broadway. Anyway, and the couple's life is just one of quiet desperation until one day they rent a room to this young female college student in the picture there, played by Terry Moore, which sets off the drama that's to follow. We learned that the couple had to get married. Shirley Booth and Lancaster character, Doc and Lola Delaney. We learned that the couple had to get married because the Booth character was pregnant, that the baby died, and that this, of course, overshadows their relationship. And anyway, I watched this movie again. I hadn't seen it in years, just last week, and it still holds up. It's extremely powerful. It's deeply emotional, with Shirley Booth's performance serving as the centerpiece of the drama. It's really one of the top 10 female film performances of all time, in my opinion. It's right up there with Vivian Lee's in A Streetcar Named Desire or Kim Stanley's in Seance on a Wet Afternoon. It's absolutely shattering how this incredibly skilled actress, who became famous for playing Hazel, the maid on TV, of all things, negotiates the emotional arc of this character, Lola Delaney. She's an obviously very broken woman who, on the exterior, presents one that's really, who's just the opposite. Light, cheery, optimistic, maybe delusionally happy, but to anyone not really looking, she's very, very sad, very lonely, very broken. It's a performance to be studied, I think, by all wannabe actors and actresses. Shirley Booth's it's her film debut. She won the Oscar that year in 1952 for Best Actress. It's one of the really standout and few times that Oscar got it exactly right. She's so moving. Watching her, it just tears at your heart. Anyway, Come Back, Little Sheba. It is sad, but it does have a realistically upbeat ending. So just because it's sad shouldn't be a reason for anybody who has never seen it to not check it out.
Why
And
don't I know Shirley Booth's name? Did she not go on to great fame and a long movie career after such a great performance?
She was basically a theater actress, and she never gave up the stage. She appeared in a few movies, but she never equaled this. I think to her, acting, Denzel Washington said this once, just recently in an interview. He was asked about film acting, and he says, "No, I'm a stage actor who does film." Because the one school of thought is like, well, when you're acting on stage, you are in control of everything. You modulate your performance according to the audience reaction, blah, blah, blah. In a film, you give your all too, but then it's handed over to the director, who will, edited in a certain way, maybe add some music here and there for an effect, that it's the director's medium. So I think Booth felt, not in a snobby way, because she took on this role of Hazel and her friends told her, the role's beneath you, don't do it. But and this was when television was considered, a step from the gutter. Like, you never want to do TV, maybe movies, but if you're a real actor, you want to stick to the stage. She was in this series. It was a hit for 5 seasons. And she said it provided her with retirement money, because, you make a lot of money in television, especially if the show that you're appearing in is a hit. You make lots and lots of money. So, yeah. I don't know. I went off on all kinds of tangents. I don't know if I answered your question, but
You did. It's
you were saying, you were saying, she.
Why don't I know her name?
And I'm hard pressed to say what. I know she was in. The musical Hello, Dolly was based on a Thornton Wilder play called The Matchmaker, and they filmed The Matchmaker, and Shirley Booth starred as Dolly Levi in that movie. But that's the only movie I can think of off the top of my head where I remember seeing her. I'm sure she's done other stuff. I just can't think of it.
Hello, Dolly makes me think of, what's her name? Carol
Channing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Carol Channing. Everybody's played that role. Every actress worth their salt has played that role. Yeah, and Booth is good in the non-musical version of the film. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So this is our movie rec of the week, classic movie rec, and I'm taken to task by the amazing Chris from Menlo Park, who says, it took me a minute. It's the movie recommendation, not the movie rec. I'm trying to be cool, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Rec is cool, Kim. Come on.
There you go. It's the movie rec of the week. Classic movie rec.
Yeah. The movie rec, like WRECK rec.
Apparently, I'm like the young kids that can't be bothered to say the whole word. So there you go.
Right. Yeah.
Tim, you are amazing, and thank you for all of these wonderful recommendations. Let's have at it again to do a quick recap. You started with Thunderbolts, and you said you thought this was boring. You said we've seen this one before. That Julia Louis-Dreyfus was the most enjoyable part of it, but otherwise, you just skip this one. That's Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
It's a skip it from Tim. The Surfer, you said it's campy, kind of, and fun. It's over the top and ridiculous and unintentionally hilarious, but because it was so funny and amusing to you, you recommend The Surfer. I don't know if they would like that review or not. The Dark Money Game. This is a 2-part documentary that is streaming on Max, and you said it is excellent. It is difficult to watch, but you called it well done, and you highly recommend The Dark Money Game on Max. It is streaming. Your favorite movie of the week is this one that isn't getting a lot of publicity, but you say, boy, is it a gem and it's worth it. It's called Henry Johnson. And you say this movie is lean and mean. It is superb, excellent, and provocative, you called it. You say it's in select theaters and then it's coming out on video on demand. But Henry Johnson is, yes, highly recommended from Tim Sika. And the sorry, Chris, classic movie wreck of the week is Comeback Little Sheba from 1952. You said that this is one of the saddest movies ever made, also one of the best female performances in film from Shirley Booth, and you are recommending the classic movie Comeback Little Sheba. And there you have it.
Yeah, and it's streaming on Amazon Prime if people want to check it out. Yeah.
Perfect. Tim Sika's done it again. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you say so, Kim, thank you very much.
With Tim Sika. Thank you, Tim. Have a great rest of your weekend.
All right, you too. Talk to you next week, Kim. Bye-bye.
Bye. At the Movies with Tim Sika. Always love having Tim on the show. The conversation is always interesting. And thank you for asking questions, especially about whether movies need a message. I love the questions and the conversation starters. Thank you, Rhonda. Says, thank you, Tim, says Rhonda. Hello, I'm getting that backwards. Also, thank you from Tammy, who enjoys the movie reviews. And Yvonne, thanks, Tim, a bright light in the week. He is, isn't he? Absolutely. All right, let's jump into a couple more stories. I think we have time for this one. Knock, knock, it's a bear at the door. What? That's yeah, it happened. This woman says she got out of this situation because of a bag of cookies. It should have been on Friday Fabulous Florida, but we're doing it here. This Florida woman and her dog say they escaped a hungry bear by throwing a bag of cookies at the bear. I guess the bear then took the cookies and was more preoccupied with that so they could get away. This woman says she and her Chihuahua mix Ringo were out on a walk near their home in Markham Woods near Sanford, Florida, when they encountered this wandering bear. The woman said, I heard a bird. I was looking for a bird in a tree, and then I saw this giant black creature coming toward me, toward my leg. She said at first she thought it was an off leash dog, and then she realized it was a giant head. I hauled him like a pinata in the air, she said of her 13-pound dog, Ringo, and I spun him around to get away. And then she kept spinning to keep Ringo away from the bear, which caused her to fall. So she got some scrapes and some bruises on her leg. And she said the whole encounter ended thanks to a bag of cookies from her mom. She said, my mom lives just down the street, and she had just stopped off at her mom's house and got handed a bag of cookies for her children, and she remembered she had the cookies in her hand, so she took the bag and she whacked the bear across the face with the cookies, and then she chucked the bag of cookies at him. She said she came forward and sniffed and put her head down and sniffed the cookies, and that allowed her enough time to run to the front door with her dog. Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission officials say they learned that this bear was a mother bear with some cubs nearby, and they're working with neighbors in the area to make sure that trash and other things are secured so that these bears don't have another run in with humans. And the woman says, I don't put the blame on the bear. She said, I'm sure she was just as scared as I was. As a mom, I would do whatever I could to protect my babies. And she said, I'm sure she was doing the same. So thank goodness nobody was hurt. That's kind of a weird picture, but if you look really close, you can see the ground littered with a gazillion dimes. How many dimes? That would be 8 million dimes. 8 million. This truck that flipped over on a Texas highway was carrying 8 million dimes. In case you need to do the quick math, that would be 800 grand. Texas Department of Public Safety said it was an 18-wheeler that rolled onto its side on Highway 81 near the Farm Road exit in Alvord, Texas. The truck went off the road, driver overcorrected. That's what caused it to overturn. Minor injuries involved in this, so the driver did have to go to the hospital along with the passenger. And the truck lost the load of 8 million freshly minted dimes. They had to shut down the highway for several hours while the Department of Transportation cleaned up all the dimes. And then I guess, you can't like scoop them up with all the road trash, or you have to. Then what do you sift out the garbage and clean everything up and give the dimes back? So weird. Who carries 8 million dimes? As this driver did, apparently. The way it goes over there. There's a story about this boy, little boy, 7 years old. And he is hungry, really hungry. And so he decides that with his 5-year-old sister in the back seat, he is going to take his mother's car because he wants to go to McDonald's. The mom, I I'm going to say it, a little bit inattentive because she doesn't even know this is happening. She wakes up to police knocking on her front door on a Sunday morning saying her 7-year-old son took his 5-year-old sister for a drive to a different city. This 7-year-old kid made it from Ogden, Utah to a nearby town. She said she woke up early to check on her 4 children, went back to bed when everyone was asleep in their bed where they were supposed to be. Later, she said a knock came on the door, alerting her to the fact that her car and 2 of her kids were missing. She said, I had my heart in my stomach, no idea what was going on. I was being told different stories of what was happening, she said. Ogden police say they got a call or multiple calls about a reckless driver on April 27th. They started pursuing the vehicle, but soon disengaged when they noticed that the age of the driver, the little kid behind the wheel, and they said this was a risk to the public. The vehicle later hit a parking strip, and police responded to the scene of the crash. The kids were unharmed, thank goodness. The drive from the family's home in Clearfield to where the car crashed in Ogden was about 10 miles. So the mom said, I went to the scene of the crash. She said, I guess the emergency medical staff came out, checked on the kids, and transferred them to the police station. She did say her 7-year-old has some behavioral issues, but not to this extent before. The She said no one has helped her with this, even though she's reached out to try to get help. Well, maybe they will now. But she said, I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning or goes through their day thinking their 7-year-old is going to play Grand Theft Auto with the real vehicle. Uh, she did say they have a family full of truck drivers, that she thinks he's probably going to be a truck driver someday because he says it's what he wants to do. And she said, it's not going to be today. You have to wait for that. She's a single mom. Now her car's out of commission. And she said, I'm not proud of him by any means, though it was impressive that he managed to drive 10 miles, but he's in a world of trouble. She said he's probably going to be grounded for the rest of his life. The police are not pressing charges. He's only 7 years old. But the mom, is having him perform some community service for his neighbors to serve some time. So there you go. He was just hungry, wanted to go to McDonald's. That's how you get there, right? You take the car. Why not? Yikes. A lot of people love Tahoe. If you go to the casinos in South Shore, one of the old casinos, it's kind of stayed the same for a lot of years. And because of that, it seems like I haven't been to Tahoe in a while, but the casino that I will go to if I go to any of them is Harvey's. Harvey's is getting a total rebrand as well. As a matter of fact, Harvey's Tahoe is now turning into Caesars. Caesars Entertainment is completely transforming Harvey's Lake Tahoe. They are making it into now a luxury destination. They're dumping $160 million into renovating and rebranding Harvey's, which had been around since 1944. That's when it opened. It was this family-owned casino in South Shore. Then in the 60s, they put in a high-rise hotel. And now comes this whole new place. It's going to be called Caesars Republic Lake Tahoe Hotel and Casino. And it's part of a new branch of the Caesars brand. They say the transformation honors the storied history of Harvey's while introducing modern amenities and elevated experiences that will redefine luxury in Lake Tahoe. They say we look forward to welcoming guests to a resort that blends the best of our past with an exciting vision for the future. All right. See, it seemed like you had Harrah's that went in across the street from Harvey's, and that was kind of the fancier place. And then they had the one down the street that changed hands a few times, but it was a little bit fancy as well. But Harvey's was always like, the middle of the road, the place you could afford to stay. They still had orange carpet, like it was fine. And now it's going to be the luxury brand. So I guess that leaves the folks that need the middle of the road place right out of it. They started last year renovating to the lobby, the casino floor, the rooms, and the suites. They're not only redoing the carpeting, the lighting, the tables, the chairs, but they're putting in new slot machines. They have a new high limit room. They have a World Series of Poker room. Oh, Mark's going to like that. So, yeah, this is what they're doing. It's a whole refresh at Harvey's. I have to say, I'm kind of sad to see the last one go. Yeah. Oh, what a bummer. But The folks at Caesars are excited about this. They say it's setting the stage for a new era of luxury in Lake Tahoe. All about the luxury, Lake Tahoe. Go into the chat. See what you have to say. Rev P says, are we talking about Tahoe? Yes, we are. Harvey's Harrah's had great rooms with beautiful views. Yeah, it's true. It's going to be a little different. Talking about the Fantasy Inn. Ooh, that's the sexy time hotel, right? With the, don't they have, I've never been inside the rooms, but isn't it like heart-shaped beds with the hot tub in the room, that kind of a place? Oh, yeah. Vanessa says, I remember when Harvey's blew up in the late 70s. By blew up, do you mean got popular or do you mean literally blew up? Because didn't remember that. But yeah, I probably wasn't paying attention to the news in the late 70s. Yeah. Mm. I like the old Caesar's cocktail outfits. Now I have to look that up. Rev says the rooms used to be 200 to 300 a night. Well, when they get done with the Harvey's turning it into Caesar's Republic, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot more than that. Yeah. Bomb blew up. Oh, I have to look up that story. Ah, I didn't know that. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, theme rooms. Theme rooms indeed. I know what kind of theme you're talking about. All right. Well, I guess on that note, we'll head off into the sunset of our weekend, right? Have a great rest of your Friday. It's going to be a great weekend. I got a school fundraiser to go to on Saturday and a birthday party on Sunday. I hope your weekend is full of good things, and I'll see you back on the Mark Thompson Show, where we've got some great guests talking politics with Gary Dietrich, and Jared Yates Sexton is going to be on the show, and Karen Dawn will talk animals with us. As a matter of fact, next week on the Mark Thompson Show, there's some really great guests. So I hope you'll be with us next week. We start Monday at 11 a.m. for the Mark Thompson Show. Until then, have a great rest of your weekend. Make it a really good one. And I'll see you back here on the YouTube on Monday. Bye, everybody. Click like and subscribe. Thank you.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.